I'd always known myself as Chris, a man. Then, in Anna's dress, I glimpsed a reflection that resonated deeper than anything I'd ever seen. The light from the setting sun bled through the sheer curtains, painting the room in hues of orange and rose. Anna's finger traced a slow path along the crest of my hip, a touch that sent a shiver across my skin. I lay beside her on the worn velvet couch, the scent of brewing jasmine tea, a sweet presence in the air. "It's this," she whispered, her voice a low hum against my ear. "This line. You're built like a sculpture, all length and grace." I felt a familiar warmth bloom in my chest, a pleasure mixed with a strange kind of displacement. Her appreciation was a current that pulled me into uncharted waters. She shifted, propping herself on an elbow to look at me, her eyes holding a deep, thoughtful glimmer. "I have this idea," she began, her tone a careful blend of playfulness and sincerity. "Something I think you'd be beautiful in." A knot of apprehension formed in my stomach. I knew without her saying the words where this was headed. "What kind of idea?" I asked, my own voice sounding distant to my ears. Anna smiled, a knowing curve of her lips. "I have a dress. It would just fall on you, the way you're made." The proposition hung in the quiet apartment, a single resonant chord of fear and a startling, undeniable thrum of curiosity. I followed her into the bedroom, a sanctuary of cascading plants and soft fabrics. The air here felt thicker, more intimate. Anna moved to her open closet, a collection of colors and textures, and her hand went straight to a sliver of dark blue. She pulled it from the rack. The sapphire silk caught the lamplight, flowing over her hands like water. "This one," she said, her voice soft. I stood motionless as I shed my familiar shirt and pants, the cool air raising goosebumps on my arms. I felt stripped down, not just of clothes, but of a certain defense. Anna held the dress out to me, an offering. My fingers brushed against the material, a contact so smooth it was almost startling. The fabric was weightless, cool. I took it, my hands clumsy. Lifting it, I let the silk cascade over my head. It whispered down my body, a second skin of impossible softness. The thin straps settled on my shoulders. The dress found the lines of my frame, clinging in some places, draping in others. I moved a leg, and the fabric flowed with me, a sensation so new it made my breath catch. I felt the space around me differently, my own body a new territory. Anna's expression was unreadable, a mix of reverence and excitement. She took my hand, her palm warm against mine, and led me from the bedroom. In the living area, a tall, antique-framed mirror leaned against one wall. I had passed it 1,000 times without a thought. Now it felt like a portal. I resisted the pull of my own reflection, my gaze fixed on the intricate patterns of the rug. "Look, Chris," Anna prompted, her voice a gentle command. I lifted my head. The person in the glass was a stranger. It was my face, my eyes, but everything else was altered. The dress had erased the familiar angles of a boy and replaced them with a series of long, fluid curves. The line of my neck seemed more delicate, my shoulders less broad. The silk captured the faint light, creating shadows that hinted at a shape I never knew I possessed. This was not a parody. It was not a man in a costume. It was a figure, complete and startling in its own right. A profound, silent question bloomed in the core of my being as I stared at the image, a contour of a self I had never once perceived. The world narrowed to the point of a soft brush. I sat on a velvet stool, my eyes closed, breathing in the apartment's scent of old books and jasmine tea. Anna worked with a quiet focus, her touch a series of gentle pressures and delicate strokes. A cool, liquid foundation blended across my cheeks, erasing the faint shadow of a day's growth. I felt the light whisk of powder setting the base, a sensation like motes of dust settling in a sunbeam. Her fingers braced my chin, tilting my face towards the light. The faint, waxy scent of eyeliner filled the air, followed by the careful, deliberate sweep of a mascara wand that made my lashes feel heavy and distinct. Each new sensation built upon the last, a careful construction of an unfamiliar face. The final touch was a muted rose lipstick, a creamy weight on my lips. Throughout the process, Anna's murmurs were a constant, soothing current. "Just a little color here," she would say. "Open for me. Perfect." Anna took my hand, her palm warm and steady. "Ready?" she asked, her voice rich with anticipation. I gave a small nod, a gesture that felt uncertain. She led me to the tall, freestanding mirror near the window. For a moment I just saw a figure, an outline against the soft afternoon light. Then my eyes focused. The person looking back was not me, Or rather, it was a version of me I had never imagined possible. The stranger had my eyes, but they were larger, deeper, framed by dark lashes. My face was softer, the angles of my jaw muted into a gentle curve. My lips held a subtle, inviting color. A name surfaced in my mind, unbidden and absolute. Chrissy. The reflection tilted its head, and I felt the motion as my own. It was seamless. Anna stood behind me, a protective, radiant presence in the glass. "There you are," Anna breathed, her words a warm caress against my ear. So beautiful. The affirmation was not a compliment. It was a confirmation. It settled deep in my chest, a profound sense of recognition that felt like coming home. The walk to the small kitchen was a revelation. I was intensely aware of my own movement, the whisper of silk against my thighs, the natural, fluid sway of my hips. It was not a performance. It was an instinct unlocked. I prepared tea while Anna watched from the doorway, her gaze a mixture of tenderness and potent desire. I poured the steaming water into 2 ceramic mugs, my own hands appearing elegant, deliberate. We sat together on the worn sofa, the sinking sun casting long golden stripes across the floor. I cradled the warm mug, feeling the heat seep into my palms. I felt seen, not just observed, but truly perceived in a way that resonated with the quiet hum inside me. The previous tremors of anxiety were gone, replaced by a substantial, peaceful calm. This felt more real than anything before. I looked at Anna over the rim of my cup, a small, genuine smile forming on my new lips. The morning light felt different on my skin. It pooled on the worn velvet of the sofa where I sat, tracing the delicate patterns on the silk that covered my legs. A half-empty mug of tea cooled beside me, its fragrant steam gone. The apartment was a sanctuary of quiet sounds, the hum of the city beyond the glass, the gentle rustle of leaves from a nearby plant. Across from me, Anna sat cross-legged on the floor, her laptop casting a blue glow on her focused face. The peace of the moment was a fragile, perfect thing. Then Anna turned the screen. The words on the webpage were clinical, direct, and they landed in my stomach like a stone. Telehealth services for gender-affirming care. Below it, a heading, hormone replacement therapy. A current of pure ice shot through my veins, a stark contrast to the warmth of the room. This was not about a dress or a touch of makeup. This was elemental. This was permanent. "Look how happy you were." Anna's voice was a soft murmur, rich with conviction. "I've never seen that light in your eyes before. You weren't just wearing clothes. You were inhabiting yourself. I found this clinic. They do everything online. The appointment is already made." Anna left the room to fetch more tea, leaving a chasm of silence in her wake. The laptop remained on the coffee table, an open portal to a future that was both terrifying and magnetic. I stood and approached the large, gold-framed mirror that leaned against the far wall. The reflection was a paradox. I saw the shape of my jaw, the line of my shoulders, familiar markers of a life lived as Chris, but I also saw the soft fall of my hair. The way the silk outlined a nascent curve at my hip, the wide, uncertain depth in my eyes. This was Chrissy. A thrill, potent and sharp, pierced the fear. To feel this alignment always, to have my body match this profound inner click. I traced a finger along my cheekbone, imagining it softer. I pictured a body without its sharp angles, a form built for grace. Then the undertow pulled. What if Anna left? Who would I be then? Stranded between 2 shores, unable to return to the boy I was. The idea of permanence was an abyss. I was giving up a known quantity, a history, for a feeling. A powerful, undeniable feeling, but a feeling nonetheless. Could I build a life on that? When Anna returned, with fresh mugs, she found me standing before the mirror, my posture a question mark. Anna set the tea down and approached without a word, her presence a solid, reassuring warmth. She placed her hands on my shoulders, her gaze meeting mine in the reflection. "It's just a conversation," Anna said, her voice gentle, cutting through the static in my mind. "It's about information. Power. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Ever. This is just opening a door to see what's on the other side. You can always close it." Anna's logic was a lifeline. It reframed the monumental decision into a single, manageable action. Not a vow, but a question. Not a final word, but the start of a new vocabulary. I watched our 2 faces in the glass. Anna's, confident and clear. my own, a canvas of burgeoning hope and residual fear.
If you loved this video, give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next and smash the hype button to help my channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next video. You can jump to it right here. And remember, this channel is about building a safe community and becoming Lacey together.